I how some middle not to a chema who are whatever. Take the good nature. Tinyabo, Udalabo. The best of daughter Ashana, who are a Yobiana, a certain achiever. I reach him, I who one Lamia Machule. I mean, Monsieur Adima of one. A young one ever am I well. Yo am I. No, I did. I go up. Well, how much job on?
Human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. It is the illegal trade of humans against their will for the purposes of sexual exploitation or forced labor. Myanmar has grown to be the largest migration source country in the Greater Mekong sub-region. Estimates suggest that up to 10% of Myanmar's population migrates internationally. One of the biggest challenges with the documentation of human trafficking is the absence of reliable data. According to the UNIAP, there are no reliable estimates on the number of persons trafficked annually. The available numbers are believed to represent a small fraction of the scale of the problem. For example, in 2003, UNICEF proposed that 10,000 girls were being trafficked every year from Myanmar into Thai brothels alone. This figure is larger than the official number of 409 female victims in the same year. Whether it's 300 people that are trafficked or it's thousands, the gravity of the issue remains, irrespective of the number of victims. To understand human trafficking, it is important to analyze its causes and effects. The causes of human trafficking may be grouped under the following broad areas: political, administrative, and socio-economic. Reports suggest that the government and military are complicit in internal trafficking activities through forced labor and illegal recruitment of child soldiers. Also, the lack of government recognition of ethnic minorities leaves them vulnerable to traffickers. The Rohingya in particular are a vulnerable group. Furthermore, the lack of resolve among bordering states to address the issue is a key problem. For example, in Thailand, victims are often discriminated against and subject to arrest. Under administrative factors, poor law enforcement and border governance facilitate human trafficking. Government's control over Myanmar's borders is limited due to the weak coordination between the center and the peripheries, as well as the ethnic strife and insurgencies. Because of the weak law enforcement in Myanmar's borders, coupled with government corruption, which exacerbates the situation, we see the low conviction numbers. When it comes to economic factors, a mixture of push and pull factors play a role, which include limited livelihoods, poor socioeconomic conditions, and insecurities created by political instability in the source communities. The prospect of better wages and demand for low-skilled laborers in neighboring countries is a major pull factor. The rural poor, which make up 84% of Myanmar's poor, are the most vulnerable group. Beyond the causes, the effects of human trafficking spans across different sectors of society. Firstly, human trafficking contributes significantly to human capital flight and the creation of black markets, which leads to a loss of tax revenue for the government. Secondly, due to human trafficking, the development impact Myanmar could enjoy from remittances is lost. Thirdly, human trafficking plays a role in the transfer of diseases such as HIV/AIDS, which can create a further strain on Myanmar's health sector. Furthermore, human trafficking has the capacity to perpetuate organized crime and abuse of fundamental human rights in the forms of exploitation, murder, illegal confinement, rape, torture, and physical abuse. Moreover, it has the ability to further degrade Myanmar's political stability and sovereignty, with insurgency groups playing an active role in human trafficking. Having established the severity of the human trafficking problem in Myanmar, the way forward is for Myanmar to learn from the practices of other countries dealing with this issue. At an international level, the UN approach to resolving the human trafficking problem includes the strengthening of information network through a participatory approach for more efficient prevention, measures to support and protect victims, the strengthening of prevention measures, and actions to raise the awareness of the problem, and so on. In 2010, the Thai Prime Minister chaired meetings with various stakeholders to coordinate anti-trafficking efforts. This consultation process produced the current 6-year national policy strategy on human trafficking valid till 2016, the second of its kind. Approaches to combating this issue includes heavier penalties for human trafficking, the improvement of policies and procedures for the identification of victims and the assistance of those rescued, as well as the establishment of specialist units for prosecution and an anti-trafficking in persons fund. Malaysia's efforts largely focus on treaties and the strengthening of its regulatory framework. Malaysia has endorsed different rules and laws aimed at preventing trafficking in persons. For example, the Protocol to Prevent, Suppress, and Punish Trafficking in Persons, especially women and children, the Palermo Protocol, the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act, 2010, as well as the National Action Plan on Trafficking in Persons, 2010 to 2015. Malaysia is also implementing and enforcing several international human rights commitments, such as the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women and the Convention on the Rights of the Child and the ILO Worst Forms of Child Labor Convention 1990. The type of responses highlighted may apply to countries that act both as a source and recipient of human trafficking victims. A report is currently on the way by a group of LKY students to assess the feasibility of Myanmar's current solutions and to determine how the country can draw from the policies of its neighbors and partner organizations.